Mega Man Zero and its sequels are seen by many as some of the best Mega Man games ever made. But it doesn't look like we're ever getting Zero 5, as the Mega Man franchise seems more dead than ever. The once legendary mascot is now relegated to playing minor roles in Capcom's games as a service. Because this is what Mega Man fans want, right? Thankfully, one indie dev has picked up Capcom's slack, taking the best parts of every Zero game and combining them into Berserk Boy, a platformer that brings the Mega Man series into the modern age. As I mentioned before, Mega Man Zero and its sequels rank among the very best Mega Man games, which is impressive if you consider we're talking about a franchise that spans over 130 titles. But to understand what exactly made the Zero series so great, we first need to look at how it fits into the Mega Man franchise as a whole. So, the Mega Man series is one of the longest running gaming franchises in history, spanning over 30 years between its first and its most recent release. The Blue Bomber rose to prominence during the NES days, setting a new standard for the platformer genre with its brutal difficulty and innovative weapons-based combat. Capcom capitalized on Mega Man's unexpected success and released sequel after sequel. After pumping out over a dozen Mega Man and Mega Man X games, the Japanese developer pivoted to 3D with Mega Man Legends and gave the franchise a turn-based spin with Mega Man Battle Network. But while Mega Man flourished in other genres, his classic platforming adventures were growing less and less popular. At the time, releases like Mega Man 8, X5 and X6 were widely criticized for recycling the Mega Man formula. So Capcom decided it was time for a change. The Japanese company asked Inte Create to make a Mega Man platformer for Nintendo's hotly anticipated handheld, the Game Boy Advance, and gave them complete freedom in designing the game. Not long after, Mega Man Zero was a reality. But how did the Mega Man Zero games shake up the Mega Man formula? And why are they still so beloved today? Well, the Zero games have three characteristics that still make them stand out today, and Berserk Boy features every single one of them.
Let's find out what you got.
First off, Mega Man Zero was an ambitious game for its time. Where traditional Mega Man games always had a level select screen, Mega Man Zero introduced an interconnected open world. All missions take place inside this world, which you can also explore on your own. But there's no real reason to do so, aside from grinding. So you'll spend most of your time between missions in the Resistance base, where you can save your progress, find collectibles, start missions, and so on. You can even chat with NPCs you've rescued during previous missions. Later Zero games would ditch this open world system in favor of the traditional boss select screen, but the Resistance base always remained an integral part of the franchise. As you'd expect, Berserk Boy features a base that functions pretty much the same way as the one in Mega Man Zero. It serves as downtime between missions, where you can talk to soldiers you've rescued and explore for hidden collectibles. And just like in the original Mega Man Zero, you will regularly have to defend your base from invading enemies. Most importantly, the base lets you access upgrades, which function quite differently from those in the Zero series.
Let's see what we've got here.
You see, Mega Man Zero is also known for its unique upgrade systems. In Zero 1 and 2, you upgrade your weapons by using them to defeat enemies. Sounds cool at first, but in practice this results in an annoying grind until you're no longer underpowered. Thankfully, Zero 3 and 4 give you fully upgraded weapons from the start. Most importantly, there are the Cyber Elves, sentient computer programs that can boost Zero's health, attacks, or change the levels themselves. Some have a one-time effect, while others give permanent upgrades. You have to raise the most powerful ones by feeding them energy crystals, the currency of the Zero games. But using them during levels also means you lose points, preventing you from getting a high rank on the stage. Berserk Boy streamlines this process significantly. You still have to gather currency in the levels to unlock upgrades. But instead of a convoluted upgrade system, there's a simple shop at your disposal, where you can permanently increase your HP, energy, and unlock new moves. You're also not punished for using these upgrades, because they don't influence your rank at the end of the level. It's fun to replay a level you've already beat with new powers, beating enemies in new ways and discovering alternate routes. And that's important, because perhaps the greatest strength of the Zero series is its replayability factor. So, after finishing a mission in any Mega Man Zero game, you get a rank based on your performance, such as how fast you beat the level, how much damage you took, how many times you retried the level, how many elves you used, and so on. Getting a high rank is very difficult, because it requires you to play almost perfectly and without resorting to the Cyber Elves system. But it's important that you do so, because the Zero games reward you for playing well. In Zero 1, getting a high rank nets you a special Cyber Elf. In Zero 2 and 3, you fight more difficult versions of bosses, and beating them rewards you with its EX skill, the special attack that expands Zero's moveset. And while ranks don't matter in Zero 4, it does feature a weather system that lets you change the difficulty of a level, and only the hardest difficulty unlocks the EX skill of that particular stage. So, all 4 games function in a similar way. In order to unlock everything, you need to get good. That means practicing combat mechanics, memorizing the layout of each level, and learning the attack patterns of enemies. That's why the Zero games are all just a few hours long. They're practically begging you to replay them. Berserk Boy's regular campaign takes about as long to complete as a Zero game, but every stage has an unlockable level, the so-called EX stages. Are you starting to notice any similarities yet? Essentially doubling the content of the game. These are special stages that increase the difficulty considerably. They're time trials focused around one of Berserk Boy's abilities, and you'll have to prove you've mastered that mechanic. Unlocking them requires you to rescue every resistance member in a particular level. But that's not all. After beating Berserk Boy's final boss, you quickly realize that that was not the end of the game. No, to get to the true final boss fight, you'll need to gather a certain amount of badges that are hidden inside every stage. Which means, you guessed it, more replays. So, we've established that Berserk Boy is heavily inspired by the Mega Man Zero series, be it world building, upgrades, or its replayability factor. If you're somehow still not convinced, there are tons of references to be found to the Zero series. I mean, just look at the start of a boss fight in Mega Man Zero, and at the start of a boss fight in Berserk Boy. It can't be much clearer than that, can it? But Berserk Boy does more than just copying the Zero series. It also brings the Mega Man gameplay loop into the modern age, fixing the more dated design choices that can make the GBA platformers quite frustrating experiences nowadays. If you've played a Mega Man Zero game, you know that they are hard. Like, really hard. With Mega Man Zero, Intake Creates set out to make the most challenging Mega Man game yet. Which is saying something, considering we're talking about a franchise infamous for its difficulty. And boy did they succeed. For instance, you can only take a few hits before you die, and dying means restarting the entire level. The Legacy Collection does add checkpoints, but even those can be quite far apart and are at times weirdly placed. Plus, they don't alleviate the most annoying feature of the Zero games, the unskippable cutscenes before a boss. Then there are the spikes and the bottomless pits that kill you instantly. This is even more frustrating due to screen crunch. Because the Zero games were designed for the Game Boy Advance's tiny display, you can't see much of the environment around you, which sometimes forces you to blindly jump or gets you killed by an off-screen enemy. The Cyber Elf system does help somewhat, but the fact that you're punished with a lower rank if you use one makes them feel more like cheats than regular upgrades. All this is on the regular difficulty, by the way. I won't even begin talking about the hard difficulty that you unlock after beating the games once. And while the Legacy Collection does include an easy difficulty setting, that's not how Intake Creates intended for its games to be played. Difficulty-wise, Berserk Boy takes a different approach. In general, you have a lot more HP than in any Mega Man game, and enemies generously drop health pickups. Berserk Boy feels way more nimble than Zero, and has a lot more traversal options at his disposal. Dashing in particular feels a lot more powerful. Berserk Boy isn't limited to jump dashing left or right. He can dash instantly in 8 directions. Design choices alleviate any screen crunch issues. In the base, arrows point you towards important NPCs. Touching a spike doesn't mean instant death, and bottomless pits are marked with skulls. If you do miss a platform, you'll jump right back into the action, because checkpoints are baked into each level. These checkpoints also let you teleport between them, which is useful as Berserk Boy's levels are quite a bit longer than the average mission in a Zero game. The game even uses screen crunch to its advantage, hiding secrets in the borders of the screen, only visible for those who pay extra attention. This is the biggest difference between Berserk Boy and the Mega Man Zero games. While both heavily encourage replayability, Berserk Boy is not defined by its difficulty. Rather, it doubles down on explorability. I don't know if that's a real word, but you get what I mean. By introducing Metroidvania elements. Many collectibles are hidden behind obstacles that are only accessible by revisiting them at a later time. And while the Zero series did not contain any Metroidvania elements, its spiritual successor did. So, Mega Man Zero 4 came out at the tail end of the Game Boy Advance's life. In fact, its successor, the Nintendo DS, was already out.
This is Nintendo DS.
Capcom wanted a Mega Man game for that platform too, and turned to Inti Creates yet another time. But they didn't want to make any more Zero games. Zero 3 was supposed to be the end of the series, and Zero 4 only happened because Capcom insisted. So Inti Creates used Nintendo's new handheld as an excuse to make something new. Mega Man ZX. ZX is probably the closest we'll ever get to a Mega Man Metroidvania, featuring an interconnected world for you to get lost in. Literally, because the map is generally so terrible you never have a clue where to go. Its sequel, ZX Advent, fixes the map, but also ditches the open world, bringing back the linear levels the Mega Man series is known for. While their worlds are different, the two games share the same gameplay. Both games let you transform into various forms, each with their own weapons, abilities, and movement mechanics that let you access new areas. And what do you know, Berserk Boy works the exact same way. Berserk Boy has more in common with ZX Advent, in that the campaign consists of linear missions rather than one open world. You can progress to the end just fine, but some areas are inaccessible until you unlock a new form by beating the accompanying boss. So, if you want to find everything the game has to offer, you'll have to do some backtracking. Just like ZX Advent, calling Berserk Boy a Metroidvania is a bit of a stretch. The game doesn't even feature a map system, which makes backtracking more cumbersome than it should be. But it's fun to come back to an area you've had trouble with and cruise through it with your new powers. Lastly, no game could be called a worthy successor to the Mega Man Zero series if it didn't feature an excellent soundtrack. Berserk Boy does not disappoint on that front either. Its music was created by the magnificent T. Lopez, composer of modern retro classics such as Sonic Mania, Streets of Rage 4 and Shredder's Revenge. In my opinion, the music alone is worth the price of admission. So, is Berserk Boy a worthy successor to the Mega Man Zero series? Well, I believe it is. Berserk Boy is a love letter to the classic Mega Man games of the 90s and early 2000s that Capcom refuses to make anymore, and without the dated design choices that make the originals difficult to replay nowadays. That doesn't mean every Mega Man fan will be satisfied with what Berserk Boy has on offer. If you want to experience the brutal difficulty of the Zero games, you're probably better off replaying the originals. But if you're looking for a more accessible, modern interpretation of Mega Man Zero, then Berserk Boy has you covered. Don't forget to like this video if you've enjoyed it, and if you're after more retro platforming action, check out this video on why I believe Pizza Tower is a better version of Wario Land 4. Thank you very much for watching and see you next time.